Do you ever have experiences where you're like, that was magical, or that was really cool, or I feel electric, inspired, I feel like all these things? Well, I just got back from a 4-day weekend meetup with spinal energetics practitioners in Sedona. So if you're not familiar with what spinal energetics is, it's a nervous system regulation technique. It's a somatic therapy that combines thought processes from the realm of chiropractic work, traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, and even a lot of the understanding and theories or rules of quantum physics. So what's fascinating is coming together as practitioners. I think there were so many great conversations that I was like, oh, I want to share this on a podcast, because I think so many of you will find a lot of value in it. Because if you're a practitioner and you feel like your business is stunted, or you're just kind of going through the motions, it's not growing, you feel uninspired, maybe you're prescribing or recommending the same things to patients or clients over and over and over, and you're like, nothing's really changing, I highly recommend to get into some kind of group. It's why I offer business mentorship. I've been mentoring for business for something like 8 or 9 years, I think. Actually, probably more than that, probably closer to 10 or 11 at this point. And that kind of evolved organically back when I was doing eyelash, when I still had my eyelash extension business. People were like, how do you, build your clientele? How do you market? And they kind of started asking all these questions. I started taking a lot of, I was like, well, this is what I do. And I had taken some business courses and was just kind of putting, things together, and ended up helping a lot of people in business. But what I have noticed is when you are in a container with other people where you feel seen, where you feel valued, it really starts to change the way that you operate. It also changes your frequency, your timeline. And I want to share with you a couple of things in this episode. One, some of the things that I recommend doing in Sedona. If you have never been, I highly recommend going. And 2, the value of community. I need you to understand something about the shifts and changes that have happened over about the past 30 years, as far as when it comes to medicine, when it comes to healing work, when it comes to, honestly, us as a civilization, what has happened and what is going to be the future. Because this is really important to understand. And I was talking about this with a lot of practitioners this weekend. And so what we're seeing as intuitives, what we're seeing in our practices, what we're seeing just, as moms, as caretakers, as leaders in our community, what's happening in the world. Even I'm not an astrology guru by any means, but we were talking kind of a lot about what's going on in planets and different things like that, and things that, just all this different stuff that's like bubbling to the surface. And sometimes you need a safe space to talk about it. So we're going to talk about that a bit, because I think whether you're on a healing journey, a health journey, or a practitioner who helps people with that, I think all of these concepts, the more that you know about them, the more that you can hear and kind of start to utilize or start to recognize that some of this might feel true for other people, it starts to expand your capacity for awareness. So there was a really great concept that felt very true for me, and this is something that I have observed over and over again. And there is this glory, there is this, pedestal that enlightenment or healed or ascension and kind of all of these words. And don't get me wrong, like, spirit is in my practice. Like, when you come to me for health shit, we are talking about your spirit too. We're talking about your soul. We're talking about possible past lives. We're talking about that shit. So I'm not disregarding any of those things. But when you have to understand directions. So we went to Amitabha Stupa, which is a sacred site, and it's designed for like prayer, meditation, and it's really designed for all faiths. Okay. And this was opened, when did they say this was opened? It was like early 2000s or so. But it's an outdoor venue where there's plenty of like kind of sacred spaces, and they've pulled from different like Buddhist traditions and things like that of like how people practice prayer, or meditation. So in a lot of Eastern cultures, like, there's walking meditation, there's chanting meditation. And it's not just sitting with your eyes closed and being like, okay, stop thinking. And so they have all these other ways to practice spiritual connection, which I think is really cool. We did this on the last day. But I had this moment where we went into a prayer wheel, and it was a prayer wheel for the 4 directions. So they have a couple different sites. So again, the 4 directions is used frequently in Native American cultures, and you pray to the different directions for whether it be like renewal for spring or like abundance for summer and growth. And they all kind of represent something different. So in this medicine wheel, I kind of came out and there was an awareness of like so many people are seeking like their highest timeline, enlightenment, ascension. And you see this a lot in these communities where people are seeking out growth and like going upward. And here's what I see a lot. People who are highly sensitive people who are empaths, when you seek growth and like sensitivity and awareness, and you don't have safety and discernment, you are overwhelmed and often anxious because you have moved upward without grounding. The polarity needs to be there, okay? The polarity needs to be there. Think about it being like stretched in only, like if you're only stretched in one direction, how singular and actually small you become. But when you stretch in 2 directions, opposite of each other, it really starts to pull and stretch you. It's like being able to, this is kind of the metaphor that I use for this, is that 2 truths can exist at the same time. And often like that actually stretches you the most is when your truth is challenged, that you can have 2 different kind of opposing feelings at the same time that you're trying to integrate. So this would be somebody who, I see this all the time, of like women who've had a miscarriage. They're sad. They're grieving that experience. They're grieving the potential of what they thought their life was going to look like, things like that. Then their friend gets pregnant. And it's like, I can be really happy for my friend and be sad for me at the same time. And that's hard because it feels contradictory. You're having what I want to have, but I don't have that and I'm sad. But I want that for you and I'm happy for you, but I can still be sad for me. And I think these things pull. You see it often. I mean, even like when you're single and somebody like starts dating somebody and they're having like this wonderful relationship and you're like, ugh, I feel like it comes so easily to them. Why does it feel so hard for me? Like, I want to feel loved. I want to feel seen. I want to feel valued. And like this other person, like maybe like you feel like doesn't work on themselves as much as you do or whatever it is. And you're like, I'm happy for them. I want them to be happy, but I also want that for me. And it's like, when you start to realize that like, when you are only moving in one direction, okay, it really stunts your growth because you put yourself in a state that you're not able to have a more human experience. And I see this a lot just in spiritual communities in general, or religious communities, right? You're always trying to be higher, be closer to God, be more enlightened, be more whatever it is. Now, when you don't have the safety within your physical body because you're experiencing life as a human being, okay? I got my aura done. Master healer over here every single year. Not that I think it's going to change, but like I always have several guides. I always have these things. Like I'm very aware of the spiritual realm to the point where I didn't realize like I am talking to spirit guides or I'm hearing them or sensing them almost all, not to say all day long, but it is such a normal experience for me. I didn't realize it wasn't normal for other people for a really long time, but I'm very grounded. I have a ton of practices that ground me and center me into my body. So I don't experience anxiety. People are like, you do all this work. Like, are you really sensitive when you go in crowds? I'm like, no, I love a good concert. Take me to Costco. I want the samples. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not afraid of I'm not afraid of being too sensitive. I'm not afraid of being exposed to people and what that might do to my field and what I might be drained. One, I recharge in solitude. I know that about myself. It's like anybody else. But I don't put myself in a state of fear, and I don't do all these like crazy protection things every time I go somewhere. But I'm very grounded all the time. So even though I'm up in that realm where, again, I'm an intuitive. I almost would, I'm careful to like label myself, but like a medical intuitive. I can often feel what's happening in your body, in my own body during sessions. This is how I know some of these things. And I know people are like, how do you know that? I'm like, well, literally my body feels like this. It's mirroring what you're experiencing. So when that is happening, and that volume gets turned way up and you don't have safety and groundedness within your own body, that is very overwhelming for your nervous system. Your nervous system now feels like it needs to protect itself. So your path that you thought was going to be to expansion now has really limited your experiences. So you need to be able to ground yourself more so you can have a broader bandwidth of feeling that doesn't throw you off from the center. And this is kind of what the medicine wheel, like after I walked out and I was like, oh, this is really interesting. Just this awareness that I never really thought of much before, because people are always really surprised when they find out what I do. Because if you talk to me, like if I met you at like a bar or like a concert or something like that, and I'm like, oh yeah, like I work with energy, I work with like vital force medicine, I'm like, natural medicine, integrative doctor, like I had to talk to dead people. And people are like, really? They're always very surprised. And they're like, you're just so like normal and grounded. Thank you. I'm not sure what you think spiritual people are like, or people that psychics or, intuitives like are, but I think what's happening is all these people are chasing the ascension without grounding. Okay. They always want the spring. They always want again, moving higher without discernment. Okay. Without being able, if you don't have safety and you don't trust your own body, you're saying yes to things you shouldn't say yes to. You're trusting mentors or guides or coaches that you shouldn't be trusting because you don't have discernment. Okay, so that was one of the revelations or the like medicine that this stupa brought to me after I walked the medicine wheel that was there, or the four directions. I highly recommend going to this Amitabha Peace Park. Okay, it's beautiful. It's one of my favorite places. Another thing that I really love to do, and I know the hikes and the vortexes get kind of like all the glory, which is very true, but something that I really love to do, and I'm going to give Jamie a shout out here because I have done a aura reading with her. I think I've talked about this before on the podcast. I can't quite remember, but I've done an aura reading with her at least 3. I could have sworn I've done it 4 times, and either I can't find the 4th or something like that, but maybe it has just been 3 times. But she uses a machine very different. It's very common. And if you've ever been to Sedona, there's all these like really great little shops that sell crystals and like lots of wellness stuff. And we'll talk about why I think like the spiritual community thrives in Sedona besides the Vortex stuff. Okay. So when you go to all these places, a lot of times they have, I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head, but different machines that will read your aura. Now, when I say read your aura, you're placing your hands on these sensors that are taking the electromagnetic field or getting the kind of pulse from your body. Okay. And again, every frequency has a color. That's how you see light, is through different wavelengths of frequency. That's how you hear sound. That's why it all sounds different. Those are all wavelengths. So that's what it's picking up on. The first year that we went to one of these. It reads your hand. It gives you this kind of printout where it has one kind of main color. Some people have 1 or 2 like other kind of blobs or like areas that might have another color in there. And then it told you how much of your energetic field kind of resides in your mind, body, or your spirit. Because again, think of your electromagnetic field as working off your body. You can actually, there are sensors that can pick up thoughts outside of the head, which means your thoughts don't stay inside your head. They emit a frequency. Okay. So we went to one of these. I was one of the hosts of the retreat. So of course all the participants go first, and some are red with a little bit of orange, and some are green with a little bit of yellow, and everybody's reds, greens, yellows, oranges. And then I think I went last, and I go and I am like all blue and some purple. I look like the odd man out. I look like the purple sheep of the family. And everybody else had like a good balance of like where their energy was. And mine said my energy was all 99% spirit. So I kind of make the joke that I'm a ghost. That's where a lot of my energy lies, which doesn't surprise me because then I go to this other woman. This is like the next year or the year after. And I get it's called Kirlian photography. If you don't know what it is, look it up. But it kind of reminds me of a Polaroid a little bit. But it takes a picture of your entire electromagnetic field. So the field around your body. It's not just sensing the vibration and then being like, this is what you are. It's actually taking a field or a photo of the field around your body and picking up on the different frequencies within your field. It's very cool. They've taken Kirlian photography on plants and shown like even when a leaf is broken, right? Like say it got chopped in half, it will still hold the field of the whole leaf. So it will still show up that there is an electromagnetic signature or field that the leaf is still whole, even though it's missing half. So it's very cool. I would actually really love to do this. I know that might sound a little morbid, but I would love to see it on like somebody who has like amputated limbs, fingers, feet, arms, legs, things like that. And just like, I'm so curious, like this type of stuff I could nerd out all day on. So we go to, it's at the Center for New Age. Big shout out to Jamie, who does auras at the Center for New Age. You should 100% go see her. It's funny, I did a video on this, I think last year after we went, or the year before, on TikTok, and it's probably one of my most saved videos. And even Jamie, it came across her For You page, and she was like, oh my gosh, that's me. And I was like, yeah, it was great. So she is wonderful. I now have 3. If you're watching YouTube, you can kind of actually see my picture behind me. But they're all a little different, but they all have the same, usually you have the same kind of main color, and then the smaller like kind of bursts within your field will change depending on what you're experiencing at that point in your life. So it was really cool. I came home and I compared the last 3 years of my aura, and it's changed every single time. And what I find really interesting is you look at my one now and it looks so much more aligned, which is wild. So much more symmetrical, things like that. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting. So I highly recommend doing something like that. And now I do that not as like literally the color of my aura is blue. And typically that's known as like the master healer. I remember the first time, I always love to tell this story, but the first time she took my aura photo, it kind of prints out like a Polaroid. So it has to develop. So while it's developing, she's like talking to you, explaining to, what an aura is and all this stuff. I didn't tell her nothing about myself. I was hosting a retreat there. I was already offering like healing work, all this stuff. Told her nothing about myself. She was like, have you ever had your aura read before? And I was like, yeah, it was one of, those things. And she goes, oh yeah, this one is different. She explains to me Kirlian photography, which I already knew. But I was just letting her do her thing. People, I like people to give me your spiel. I want to hear it. I don't want you to feel like you have to do something different because I might know some stuff. So she gives me the whole spiel. And then she's letting it develop, and she looks at it and she looks at me. She goes, do you want a job here? She goes, this is the aura of every single, because she owns the center. This is the aura of all the healers upstairs and all the intuitives. Like, let me know if you ever want a job. Where are you from? Like, and I was like, oh, and I just kind of joked. She's like, you need to be doing retreats. You're a healer if you're not already in that work. A podcast would be really great for you. You're a teacher. All these things that I'm like already doing. And she's like, what do you do? And I was like, well, I'm a healer. I'm here hosting a retreat. Like, I have a podcast. Like, I do a lot of like online courses and education. And she's like, okay, yeah, totally. Like, so it's kind of an intuitive read, and an aura photo is really, really great. Very interesting, and it felt very affirming. Everybody that has ever gone to her that I've sent is like, oh my gosh, it was so good. It was a very affirming of what you already know, and it feels really good to see it. So that's another thing that I recommend doing if you're in Sedona, to go try that. Again, the hikes get all the glory, and it's interesting. I feel like weird shit always happens when we're there. My maps never work. They always go in a circle on my phone. This time I had some weird stuff going on with my alarm. It was going off when I know I turned it off, and like it wasn't doing these things. So there's always kind of weird stuff that happens there. So when people are like, oh, energy is not real, I was like, this never happens anywhere else when I travel. It happens every single time I go into Sedona. Stuff shifts and changes. Now, some people, again, I'm a highly sensitive person. I kind of gave you my background and told you all about my blue aura and things like that. When I go to Sedona, I don't immediately feel like, wow, the energy feels so palpable. But I'm sensitive to that all the time. So that might be part of the reason. Okay. I also recognize like I surround myself with people who feel really good most of the time. So it's not a huge contrast for me. Okay, so this is really important. This is why who you live and the environment that you live in all the time matters, because it affects your biology. I don't feel a huge shift when I go there, but I do feel time feels very weird to me. I can't remember stuff from the day before. I can't remember. I'm like, what did we do yesterday? It's like time starts to get very weird and warped feeling. And I know a lot of other people I've talked to, they're like, yeah, whenever I go to Sedona, I actually feel really sick. That shift in energy makes them very sick. So it's interesting when you become more sensitive to these things. But I do want to share something really fascinating and I think kind of cool that happened is that as we got together to meet up and connect and to swap sessions. So I don't live anywhere. I live in Las Vegas and there is not another practitioner that is close that I can see regularly. And so most of my sessions are online and even, just being able to have people like bounce ideas for different things or, share what we're experiencing and stuff like that is, again, really great. It creates connection. I think everybody should have a community, especially if you're in any type of career where you can kind of spitball things back and forth. So we get together, we practice on each other and swap sessions. And so we rented this incredible Airbnb and we went upstairs. I brought massage tables and we were all practicing on each other and just swapping sessions. And it is incredible because it was a rooftop balcony. So you had a 360-degree view of the Sedona Mountains. Incredible. It was phenomenal. During the sessions, there is this flock of hawks, which they don't normally fly several of them at a time, but there was several hawks that were flying above us during this session. It's like so interesting. And then we're like, oh, like we're kind of joking, like, they like what they're feeling, type of thing. And I'm making some jokes. The next day we wake up, one girl's sitting outside and I'm in the kitchen. And I can see from the window, all of a sudden this giant crow, which I was like, maybe it wasn't a hawk. Maybe it was this giant crow. But anyways, he hops up our driveway and he's got something in his mouth. He literally brings a bunny, a recently killed bunny. They haven't destroyed it that much. Puts it on this rock that looks like an altar. Okay. It's like 3 feet by 2 feet, plops it down there and then hops off the driveway, leaves us a gift, brings us an offering. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, cool. Thank you. And then we come back later the day. They've taken the offering. Cool. Go eat it. The bird wasn't picking at it. He literally came, dropped it off and then left. And then later that day, we go hiking to one of the airport Mesa Vortex loop. There's a couple that you can kind of do up there. We sit and do a meditation. During this meditation, it gets really intense. One of the women start channeling. There's a lot of energy going on. And all of a sudden I'm kind of told by my guides, okay, you need to be the anchor. I'm holding the space because I was leading the meditation. And all of a sudden, nobody really starts coming up, which is interesting because it's right before sunset. So I thought it would be really busy. When we got there really wasn't that many people, 3 people up there, which is kind of unheard of. And there were people that came up, but not eyes. It was dead. It was wild. And all of a sudden I look up and there's all these flocks of birds. Again, all these birds that are just circling this area. And I'm like, okay, thank you. Bird energy, protect us. Birds are often representation of higher realms and things like that in ancient cultures. So I'm like, yes, I will take this. Come on in, just protect us. As soon as the meditation or the channeling that had started happening ended, all these people started coming up. Crazy, 2 different sets of bride and groom to get their photos taken. All of a sudden there was this mass entrance of people. It's not like we were holding anybody off. In fact, I have my back to the entrance, but there was nobody coming up. I could see there wasn't, I turned my head kind of checking around, again, holding the space. And I was like, okay, we were protected while this was happening. It was very, very, very cool experience. And I think when you go to some place like this and everybody's like, that was so cool. We didn't do, it's not like we practiced the whole time on each other or swap sessions the whole time. But I think this is kind of where the future of medicine is going. It's not just this kind of stuff, but it's actually things in community. What's happened is that we've created so much separateness in the health and healing world that the doctor knows more than the patient. that the healer is so much more enlightened than the student, than the, client. That there's this like hierarchy that starts to happen. And what I tell everybody when they come to me, I'm like, we're a team. I'm not giving you anything or doing anything to you, especially when they come in for just spinal. But even when they come in for any of my other programs, I'm like, I am not doing this for you or to you. I am not more enlightened than you. I am not higher or, don't put me on a pedestal, because we're a team and everybody has different strengths and everybody brings something different to the table. And it was very cool to be in this group of practitioners and feel different people's medicine and different people's experiences come through in the way that they practice. Some people, the way that they present themselves and the way, like their stature or their demeanor and stuff like that. And then they start to work and you're like, whoa, like this person is like has very commanding energy, very direct energy. But when you talk to them, it's like the cadence of their voice or whatever I would ever expect that. Another person, you're like, wow, your energy feels like a hug. Like when you start working, like it feels like there's a softening. It's like the slow drip of water over time that like erodes a rock, just like a tsunami would come and like knock it away. Like you're the slow drip that's slowly, like, not that your like medicine is slow, but it doesn't have to be pushy or forceful or aggressive to be very powerful. And so you start to feel how all these people do the same thing differently. And you realize that like we all need different people for different things, and that we're meant to heal together, even coming together when you're in the world. And, if you're somebody who's in the holistic world or the natural world, you probably feel this or have felt this too, is that you kind of feel different. At some point, you kind of feel like, you do things different because you do. Because the past, 50, 100 years, the shift into medicine has been the Western medicine model. The shift has been the doctor knows best because he went to school. And now as the information age and technology has changed and we have so much more access to information, you can no longer be a bystander in your own healing. You have to be an advocate. You have to be a participant and you have to take responsibility, which means diving in where community and connection and support are real. Doing this alone is no longer an option, I don't think. I think the future of medicine is actually a lot more like coming together in groups. And again, like finding practitioners that do say, hey, I'm part of your healing team. One of my clients said that to me one time, and I was like, I love that. I love that. She's like, you're a part of my healing team. I have this person, then we work on my body, they doing Pilates or doing whatever and helping keep my body strong. And then this person, we work on this. And like, it really takes a team, and I need to feel supported, and you're not meant to get everything from one person. And this is the same in relationships. Like your partner is not meant to be your everything. They should not be your everything. Because what a responsibility that is on their shoulders. What a responsibility that is for them to fill up all of your buckets. We're meant to be in community. We thrive that way, where we feel supported by one another. And that's a root chakra issue. That's a feeling, tribal and community issue. If you don't feel connected to the people around you. And so the more that you can get in these types of things, and because a lot of times when people have fear and anxiety, they have root chakra issues. The more that you can lean into community, you can find your people. This is why, again, like in TikTok or Instagram, like these are my members. Like these people are a part of my community. They're a member of my community. They're not my audience. They're not my followers. They're my members. Because I feel like when you're a member of a community, that language feels like you belong. That language feels like you matter. That language feels like you've opted in and I'm participating. I'm an active participant in this. And it has to be that way. It has to be that way moving forward. We've done the separate model where we separate body from soul, body from mind, symptom from soul. We can't do that anymore. Doctor from patient, like that they're not both trying to work towards the same thing. Like that model only works in acute situations, but these long-term care and chronic situations, and honestly, the hunger that we have to be close to people when we feel more isolated than ever is a byproduct of our environment, our society that has constructed this separateness. And I think something that one of the women and I were talking about when we were in the Stupa Peace Park area is we were really talking about how I think Sedona attracts a spiritual community because spirituality is interesting. You can practice spirituality and be a religion. You can practice spirituality and honor the earth. You can practice spirituality and be a teacher. You can practice spirituality and have opposing views from other spiritual people. Practicing spirituality is practicing connection to spirit, to source, to something bigger than you that you are a part of. Again, a member, a community, a group. And so many times, I think if you're religious, you have church to go to, right? You have a congregation that you are a member of. And the people that don't align with that belief system, or that doesn't resonate with them, there isn't a landing spot that you can go to every week often. And again, community is important. I think this is why a lot of people feel, there's a lot of reasons why you feel this stuff when you practice yoga is deeper connection and things like that. And it has to do with moving of the body, releasing of the fascia, things like this. Again, concentration, developing some of these qualities that help on that path. But I think part of it is that there's a difference when you practice at home by yourself and when you practice in a community. You come together and you feel together. And so I think Sedona has this draw because the energy Sedona is not the only place with vortexes. They are all over the world, everybody. They're all over the world, but a lot of times things are built over them. Okay? Just so that you know, in fact, a lot of churches actually are built on vortexes. Fun fact. Okay, if you want to, especially in Europe. So go look that up on your own time. But a lot of these places that have this pull and have a different, a more intense kind of frequency or more concentration is kind of what I like to think of it. It's not that there's more of it, it's just more concentrated in that area. That it's pulling these spiritual people to this area, not only because it has, again, a greater concentration of energy or a higher frequency or things like that. It's that the people of Sedona want to keep it that way. They don't want to build over this. They want things to remain sacred. They honor a lot of these ancient traditions. And so people of spirituality that want to have that community are drawn to this area because they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel supported. They feel like what they have to say isn't crazy when they're like, hey, I've felt my spirit. You could talk about spirit guides, at lunch with everybody around you and everybody's talking about weird ass shit sometimes that you're like, huh, so interesting. They're talking about their past life experience and they're talking about their childhood wounding. And this person's talking about how they're working through some health protocols to heal their gut. And this person's talking about how they've seen aliens and those things are so normalized. And what's funny is if you listen to one of my past episodes where I talk about, this was 3 or 4 episodes ago, I talk about how being psychic has made me a lot of money and how people call me and are like, you're never going to believe this. And I'm like, try me. I talk to dead people. That weird shit happens to everybody. And it's they have no place to talk about it and nowhere that they feel safe to be seen in their own spirituality, to be seen in their connection to source. And so I think all these people are drawn to Sedona because it's become known that it's widely accepted and talked about there. It's no longer weird or woo-woo. And when we keep things in the closet, there's shame attached to it. And when you feel like you can, let your freak fly, you're like, wow, I feel so liberated. People often feel really good there. They're like, I feel so, again, this time starts to do this weird warpy thing. And it's really that you're not playing by the constructs of the reality that you've thought you've had to. So you start to behave differently. You start to anticipate things differently. You start to be open more because, again, the people around you don't shame you or judge you for some of these experiences that you're like, you'll never guess. You'll never believe. They're like, I bet you I will. And you're like, fucking cool, man. Cool. It feels so good to be seen in that way. And that was a big lesson and just an affirmation, I guess, for me on this trip. Is being with many other, it happened to be all women, but many other women that feel the same things or observe the same things, are experiencing the same things, whether that be in their practice or in their everyday life, and how important it is to have some of these connections, some of these relations, to be able to grow. And I think that's where the future is headed, is that we're going to find more of these pockets. You're already seeing it online where people are going to retreat simply because this one person specializes in teaching about PCOS, and they want to feel like they have a safe space to talk about something that nobody sees. It's inside your body. You don't look sick. So people often don't think you're sick, don't believe you, whatever that, is, and often gaslight you and things. And they want to feel seen. They want to feel heard. So it's like, they're not going on a retreat because they think this person is going to heal them. They're going on this retreat. They're spending thousands of dollars because they just want to feel heard. And being heard, being seen, feeling valued, feeling loved, that's medicine. That's medicine. That's what a quantum leap is that I no longer subscribe to this belief system anymore, and it can happen instantaneously. When you feel this way, your heart, your body starts to find different coherence. It literally starts to find a different frequency. And when you do that, your life starts to change. And I think that this is where when people have instantaneous healings or miracles, if you will, miracles are literally a shift in consciousness. I love this study. I talked about this the other day I was sharing it on one of my TikToks. I was talking about one of my favorite things to talk about when they talk about consciousness influencing your biology is there was this study done on, I believe at the time it was labeled schizophrenia. Now that is separate from multiple personality disorder. But this person would be labeled now as somebody who experiences multiple personality disorder. And so they're different people, right? They shift in their brain. And so they wanted to observe and note the chemical changes in the body, the biological processes that change when they change from personality to personality, what's different. Now, in one personality, this person is deathly allergic to strawberries. You can't touch strawberries and then touch their skin or touch their food. They can't be in one of those fruit dishes. No. EpiPen, very allergic. Okay? In another personality, they can eat strawberries. Same person, same technical DNA, different biological expression based on consciousness. That's one of my favorite studies to talk about because I think you need to understand that instantaneous healing is possible. Quantum leaping, same thing. Miracles, those are all different words for the same thing, okay? All you're having is a shift in awareness belief system. You cannot do that. Back to what we talked about in the beginning. You cannot shift timelines unless your body feels safe. It will do protection mechanisms. So often, when you go to these environments where you feel seen, heard, valued, and safe, all of a sudden these huge shifts happen in your life. Not because the place was magical, but because it allowed you to feel supported enough to make those shifts. This is why community is important, because it helps to change the possibility of timelines for you, the possibility of consciousness for you, what is possible for your life. It's why I love to host retreats. It's why I love group work. It's why I love all these things. Individual is wonderful. And I think sometimes we need individual work. But the more that we can come together, I think the faster that we will heal. And I think that's the future of medicine. So, long story short, if you haven't visited Sedona, it's really great. I love all sorts of different hikes, Cathedral Rock, Bell Rock, Devil's Bridge. Those are all fun. They're popular. We did Airport Trail this time, which was really fun. We did the Birthing Cave. So I'm trying to hit some new ones and things like that. I often take people on some of the same ones because I know what they are. I know the level of hardness and depending on the group and stuff. And there's so much to do there. Honestly, you could spend a week and still not do it all. There's wonderful eateries. A lot of them are very health conscious. So it's very easy to get vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, all of those kinds of things. And again, really just beautiful people. People are coming there to heal. People are coming there because they're curious. So there's so much potential for change often when you visit places like this. So keeping that in mind, if this is something where you're I feel like I'm on the precipice of change, on the precipice of healing, I want a place where I feel seen, heard, valued, get in these communities. You can reach out to me. I can put you on a wait list for when I open up another retreat. All of those things. You need to be with people who feel you, who get you, who see you, who listen. If you're trying to heal, that will be one of the biggest shifts, I think, for most people, is most of the time when people come to me, it's not funny, haha. It's funny, of course. Like, interesting. Of course it's happening. Like, I think, of course. Once people have come to 1 or 2 sessions with me and their body feels safe, their body will start processing that day before the session starts. They're on their way driving in. They're like, why is it I cry every time I'm on my way to you? Because your body is already starting the process. It already knows what's happening. It's preparing and anticipating. Your body is always doing this with every experience. So the more that you can be in containers where you feel safe to express, safe to be seen, safe to be heard, the more your healing is expedited, because it's not just happening in the session anymore. Your body is anticipating change. Your body is anticipating healing. It's wanting to find resonance, right? The shifts in the nervous system are changing. And so your how you interact with your environment is changing. All of these things are really, really important, you guys. Whether you're a practitioner and you're like, if things feel stagnant, you need to get in a group and you need to look at how you're addressing your clients. Do they feel safe? Like, get feedback. Ask them. Listen to them. Listening to them could be the difference between them getting better in 6 months or 6 weeks. Spending the extra 20 minutes to listen to them. I know that time is money. I get that. But the people that you change their lives and you help them heal, they're your best business card. They will refer you so many people. And so in this way, it is worth your time. And people are worth your time. Connection, relationships, those are worth your time. And that's where the future and like currency is going. Is community, connection, networking, collaboration. That is the future, not just of medicine. I think this is how businesses grow in the future. It's not white knuckling it through and thinking you can do it all yourself. It's hiring and getting in with a great group of people. These things start to really change how you look at the world, change how you interact with the world. So if you're not a member already of my group, my community, my people, I'd love to have you. Find me on Instagram at Dr. Shalane Carter. Same thing on TikTok at Dr. Shalane Carter. Dr. Shalane Carter. I'd love to have you there. We chat about all things, again, business, holistic practitioners, things like this. And we also talk about health protocols, how to, do different things, how to help. I just did like a whole new series over on TikTok of things I learned at this conference from the weekend prior from MDs. So it's lots of in that realm. Okay. If you're wanting to learn about how to heal yourself, how to become a better practitioner, mind, body, spirit, this is the place you want to be. And I would love to have you as a member. So until next time, my friends, cheers.